Usually when we talk about looking at a map, there is this expectation of physical geography.
Right, like mountains and rivers.
Yeah, exactly. You look at the paper or the screen and you see mountains, you see the rivers, you see the exact roads connecting one city to another. It's tangible.
Very concrete.
Right. But then you step into the world of digital analytics and suddenly that traditional map just goes completely out the window.
Oh, absolutely. The whole landscape changes.
Yeah. We are no longer looking at physical roads. We are looking at a diagnostic landscape of human attention. We're looking at a map of how minds are moving, where they are pausing and what invisible forces are actually guiding them there.
It is the absolute definition of mapping the intangible. I mean, we are tracking the literal footprints of human curiosity across, a highly engineered terrain.
Okay, let's unpack this, because looking at the specific 28-day snapshot is like looking at the exact behavioral wiring of an audience.
It really is.
We are taking a magnifying glass to a very distinct analytics report for a YouTube channel called Podcast OscarAI.
Right, a very specific window of time.
Exactly. Over the last 28 days, this channel accumulated a grand total of 7,889 views.
Which is a very interesting number to dissect.
Right. Now, in the infinite chaotic universe of the internet, you might hear that and think, well, that's not millions.
Sure, people always want millions.
Yeah, but stop and visualize almost 8,000 human beings sitting in a room choosing to listen to a specific topic.
It's a lot of people.
It is a theater, a very crowded, highly engaged theater of people giving you their time.
What's fascinating here is that these numbers are not just, vanity metrics. They reveal the precise breakdown of passive discovery versus active intent.
Okay, wait, passive discovery versus active intent.
Yeah, exactly. When we look at this data, we are seeing a psychological profile of how an audience actually interacts with content. It is a perfect case study in modern digital behavior. I mean, we are answering the most critical question for any creator. How did those 8,000 people find the door to that theater, and who handed them the ticket?
That is such a good way to frame it. And that brings us to the absolute largest piece of this analytics pie.
The main driver.
Right. Out of those 7,889 views, a massive 53.2% of the traffic, that is 4,194 individual views, comes from something the platform calls browse features.
Or funciones de exploración in the source data.
Yes, exactly. Over half the audience.
This is where we need to pay very close attention to the mechanics of the platform. Because this category, it means the algorithm is actively recommending this content.
On their homepage, right?
Right, on a user's homepage or in their subscription feeds. This isn't the viewer doing the heavy lifting here.
It's the machine.
Exactly. This is the machine doing it. It proves the algorithm is actively working for the creator. It is taking Podcast OscarAI and actively serving it up on a silver platter.
I love thinking about it like this. Imagine you write a book, right? Browse features is like a bookstore manager reading your book, loving it, and deciding to put it right in the front window display facing the street.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
They aren't hiding it in the back aisle under, miscellaneous.
Right, collecting dust.
Yeah. They are putting it right where every single person walking by the store is going to see it. It is prime digital real estate.
That's the best spot in the house.
But let's pause and think about how that actually works behind the scenes. Like, how does the machine know to put this specific video in the window?
Well, it comes down to measuring micro behaviors. The platform's algorithm, it doesn't watch the video and decide if it has artistic merit.
Right, it doesn't have taste.
Exactly. It watches the audience watching the video. It measures the click-through rate when a thumbnail is presented. It measures average view duration.
So it's tracking every little interaction.
Every single one.
Right.
It tracks if a viewer watches Podcast OscarAI and then immediately closes the app,
Yes.
or if they stay and watch 3 more videos. Yeah. And when the machine sees positive signals in those micro behaviors, it matches the profile of that viewer with millions of similar users.
Oh, I see.
It calculates a probability that those lookalike audiences will also engage, and then boom, it pushes the thumbnail onto their homepages.
But let me push back on this a little bit.
Sure.
Because as a creator, if I hear that over half my audience, like more than 53%, is only finding me because a machine decided to put me in the window display, isn't that incredibly vulnerable?
It feels that way, yeah.
I mean, you are relying heavily on the unpredictable whims of a black box. If the algorithm wakes up tomorrow and decides that it doesn't like your book anymore, your front window display is just gone.
Right.
Your main source of traffic vanishes overnight.
Well, it's tempting to view the algorithm as this capricious, unpredictable dictator. But that is a fundamental misunderstanding of its goal.
How so?
The algorithm is actually highly predictable because its only loyalty is to viewer retention.
Okay, keeping people on the app.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is the most ruthless, efficient meritocracy ever built. It pushes content that keeps people on the platform.
So it's not random.
Not at all. It is
Yeah.
a feedback loop, so it's actually a massive sign of health that it recognizes your value. Having said that, you are identifying a real vulnerability.
Because you don't own the window.
Right. You are a guest in their house, building a business where 53% of your foot traffic is entirely dependent on a landlord's window display is a structural risk.
Which makes the next metric we're looking at so incredibly vital.
Yes.
Because we are moving away from machine agency and stepping directly into human agency, the things happening completely outside of that algorithmic control.
The off-platform engine.
Exactly. The next biggest chunk of traffic for podcast OscarAI is external, or externas. This makes up 23.8% of the traffic, which translates to 1,879 views coming from social networks, websites, or direct links sent between people. So what does this all mean?
It means you have a highly solid base of viewers who are not reliant on the platform's homepage serving them a thumbnail.
Right. They aren't waiting to be spoon-fed.
Exactly. These are people who are finding the content or being sent the content entirely outside of the platform's walled garden.
Oh, wild.
Yeah. The content is resonating enough that people are taking the initiative to distribute it themselves.
Think about your own habits for a second. Think about the friction involved in this kind of sharing.
Oh, it's huge.
It is one thing to be sitting on your couch, scrolling passively, and an algorithm hands you a video. You just tap your thumb on the glass.
Right. Zero friction.
It requires absolutely zero effort. But it is an entirely different level of commitment to watch an AI tutorial from podcast OscarAI, decide it is so incredibly useful that you want a specific coworker to see it.
Right.
Hit the share button, copy the link, leave the YouTube application entirely, open up your text messages, paste the link, and type, "Hey, you need to watch this."
That is a lot of steps.
It requires a massive amount of conviction.
It requires conviction, and it requires spending social capital.
Oh, social capital. Tell me more about that.
Well, when you share a direct link with a friend or drop it into a professional Slack channel, you are attaching your own reputation to that content.
That's true.
You are telling your peers, I endorse this. This is worth 10 minutes of your life.
And if it's bad, you look bad.
Exactly. If the video is terrible, your credibility takes a hit.
Wow.
The fact that nearly a quarter of podcast OscarAI's traffic, almost 2,000 views, is generated this way is a massive trust signal.
That is a lot of trust.
It means the audience is willing to risk their social capital to do the marketing for the creator. It is the ultimate protective moat against those algorithmic changes we were just discussing.
It transforms a passive audience into an active community.
Precisely.
Which naturally transitions us to the third character in this digital play. We've talked about the passive viewer scrolling the browse page. We've talked about the social viewer sharing external links. Now we have to talk about the absolute most proactive audience member of all, the searcher.
The solitary hunter.
Yes. The data shows that 9.4% of the traffic, that is 744 views, comes from YouTube search, or búsqueda de YouTube.
Right.
This is a completely different behavioral mindset.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this metric, despite being the small slice of the pie we've discussed so far, holds a very unique outsized weight.
Because they're looking for something specific.
Exactly. This indicates there are users out there hunting for specific topics, specific answers. This represents direct, active intent.
I am going to play devil's advocate here, though.
Go for it.
Let's say I am the creator. I am staring at my analytics dashboard. I have 53% of my traffic coming automatically from the homepage.
Right.
I have nearly 24% coming from my loyal fans sharing my links. Why in the world would I spend my time stressing over a 9% slice of the pie?
It seems small by comparison.
Yeah, I mean, 700 views is nice, but compared to 4,000 from browse, why should I even care about the searchers?
You care because of the psychology of the searcher versus the psychology of the browser.
Okay, unpack that.
The browse viewer is leaning back. They're sitting on their couch, waiting to be entertained.
Right, thumbing through their feed.
They might click, they might watch for 3 minutes, and then they might move on. But the searcher is leaning forward.
They have a mission.
Yes. They have a problem, they have a question, or they have a very specific curiosity, and they are actively typing words into a search bar to resolve it.
So the intent is totally different.
Completely. Let's say someone searches for how to optimize AI audio 2026. When they find podcast OscarAI as the exact answer to their specific query, the level of trust established in that precise moment is exponentially higher than a random homepage click.
Because you solved their problem.
Right then and there.
It's the difference between wandering past a window display and walking into a massive library using the Dewey Decimal System to find one specific instructional manual.
That is the perfect way to visualize it. And there's a mechanical advantage here, too.
Yeah, what's that?
Search traffic is evergreen.
Oh.
A video pushed by the browse algorithm might have a massive spike for 48 hours and then just flatline completely when the machine moves on to the next shiny object.
It's very fleeting.
But a video that answers a specific, highly searched question that will slowly and steadily bring in viewers month after month, year after year.
Because people keep having that same problem.
Exactly. Human beings never stop having that problem.
Yeah.
That 9.4% is the bedrock of a sustainable, long-term archive.
Okay, so we have our three distinct audiences mapped out. We have the machines serving things on a platter.
The browse audience.
We have the loyal fans spreading the word in group chats.
The external audience.
And we have the proactive hunters typing questions into the void.
The search audience.
Right. But data is completely useless unless you actually do something with it, unless you translate it into a strategy.
Very true.
And this analytics report provides three distinct recommendations for future growth based entirely on this specific 28-day breakdown.
This is where we shift from observation to execution.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because when you look at the recommendations, they almost seem to fight each other.
How so?
Let's look at the action plan. Recommendation number 1 addresses the giant 53% browse metric. It says because browse is so vital, you must optimize your thumbnails to be visually striking and your titles to spark deep curiosity.
Right, to win the click on the homepage.
We have to maximize the click when people see you. Okay,
Yeah.
Makes sense. But then recommendation number 2 addresses the 9% search metric. It says to boost that search traffic, you need to use SEO, search engine optimization. You need to put highly relevant keywords and common audience questions directly into your titles and descriptions.
Right.
And then recommendation number 3 is a maintenance goal. Basically, keep sharing externally to maintain that 23.8% solid base of direct links.
It is a trifecta of strategic direction, perfectly tailored to the three behaviors we just unpacked.
But wait, help me understand the tension between step 1 and step 2. How do these distinct strategies actually balance out?
It's tricky, yeah.
You are being told to make something clicky and curious for the browse audience, but also highly literal and keyword heavy for the search audience.
Right.
Can a title be both a curiosity gap and SEO optimized? It feels like you are asking a creator to choose between being mysterious and being a dictionary.
It is the ultimate tightrope walk, and you have hit on the exact central tension of platform strategy.
So how do you do it?
To understand how to do both, we have to look at how the machine actually sees a video. The algorithm crawler that catalogs search results is essentially blind.
Blind.
Yes, it cannot watch the video to understand context. It relies entirely on strings of text to categorize information.
Oh, I see.
That is why search requires literal keywords. But human beings are highly visual creatures driven by emotion, which is why browse requires curiosity.
So how do you feed a blind machine and a highly visual human at the exact same time?
You utilize the anatomy of the platform. You divide your assets.
Okay, give me an example.
The thumbnail image and the first half of the title serve the browse recommendation. That is your visual hook and your curiosity gap for the human eye.
So the humo part comes first.
Always. You might have a thumbnail with a shocked face and a title that starts, the AI voice tool that changes everything.
Right, that stops the casual scroller.
Exactly. But the second half of the title, and specifically the first 2 lines of the description box beneath the video, serve the search recommendation.
Oh, that is your anchor for the blind machine.
You add a vertical bar and then type, Best Podcasting Software 2026. You feed the human emotion with the visual, and you feed the machine index with the text.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
You are designing a package that appeals both to the passing window shopper who just wants to be entertained and the person who walked into the library asking for a specific author.
Exactly. You aren't compromising. You are layering the bait.
And meanwhile, you follow recommendation 3. You keep physically promoting the content yourself.
Keep that external engine running.
Yeah, you keep pushing those direct links on social networks. You don't get lazy just because the browse algorithm is currently doing the heavy lifting.
Never get lazy with distribution.
Right, you maintain your own independent distribution channels so you aren't completely at the mercy of the machine.
It represents a holistic ecosystem. The external shares signal to the platform that the content is high quality.
Which feeds the browse algorithm.
Yes, which pushes it to the home page.
Yeah.
And all the while, the SEO ensures the long tail of searchers can always find it months down the line. Every single piece of the data informs a specific mechanical action.
It is incredible how much narrative is hidden inside a tiny spreadsheet covering 28 days.
It's an entire story.
We have basically tracked the entire psychological journey of a podcast OscarAI viewer. Whether they are sitting back and being served a video by a highly complex machine, whether they are opening a link sent by a trusted friend who spent their social capital, or whether they are leaning forward, typing a question into a search bar looking for a specific answer.
It is a complete map of human attention.
It really is.
And as we map the behavior of others, it naturally turns the lens back on ourselves. I would ask you, the listener, to consider your own digital habits over the last 28 days.
Oh, that's a good exercise.
When you open a platform, how are you operating? Are you primarily a browse viewer, letting the homepage curate your reality?
Just leaning back.
Right. Are you an external clicker, relying on the trusted curation of your friends and networks? Or are you a search hunter, actively seeking out your own specific curriculum?
I know, I definitely fall into the browse trap more often than I'd like to admit. It is just so easy to let the window display tell you what to consume next.
Which is entirely by design. And this raises an important question, one that extends far beyond the analytics of podcast OscarAI.
What's that?
If over half of a channel's audience, and likely over half of our own daily consumption, is driven by automated browse features, we have to ask ourselves about agency.
Well,
How much of our daily digital consumption is actually a conscious choice we make versus a highly engineered machine perfectly predicting what will keep our eyes glued to the screen for just one more minute?
that is a lot to think about. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.